Welcome in, guys. My name is Robbie, and this is the Sharp Money Positive EV Sports Betting Course, episode 2.1. We just finished up chapter 1, which was all the introductions about sports betting and myself. Now we're moving on to chapter 2, which is all of the basics of sports betting. We're going to go over a lot of the common terms that you'll hear with profitable sports betting concepts and a lot of just like the basic strategies. I'm not going to go into any crazy detail here, but you're going to get a good base of information to expand your knowledge with. So this episode right here is all going to be about, what is positive EV betting? Plus EV sports betting stands for positive expected value sports betting. Now, this is a term that is typically used to describe a top-down betting strategy, which is what this course is all about. It's all about top-down strategies. But plus EV betting doesn't necessarily mean you're just talking about top-down. Plus EV betting is literally anyone that is calculating an edge with their bet has a positive expected value, meaning that if they place this bet at a certain win probability with the correct odds, then long term, their bet will be profitable, meaning it is a plus EV bet. But top down has kind of just coined the term plus EV betting, which is kind of weird because even if you're originating your own lines or, even if you're playing blackjack with an edge, it's all plus EV betting realistically, but a lot of people just refer to it as top down. Top down betting requires actually no knowledge of the sports that you're betting into. It's more about viewing the sports betting market as a financial market and knowing that the market is efficient and understanding how it moves. With top-down strategies, you really don't need to understand sports at all to be able to make money sports betting. It's more like stock trading where you're looking at different probabilities and different prices and kind of when to buy into a market, when to sell out of a market, and things like that. Honestly, sometimes I think it's better off that you don't know anything about the sport you're betting into because a lot of the time your own thoughts of the outcomes of the game are wrong and they influence the way you want to bet. So honestly, you're better off not knowing anything about sports. But when you're top down betting, you have to understand that you are not smarter than the market as a whole, right? The market is more efficient than you. They have more information than I do. So I'm not going to beat them by I don't have any information that the market does not have. That's the assumption of a top-down bettor. So instead of trying to produce our own numbers to beat the market, we use the market in the sports books kind of against themselves. Nowadays, there are so many different sports books out there, and they're offering so many markets. Like FanDuel might have 1,000 different markets I can bet into just on one given day of betting the NBA. There's no way that every single sports book can keep accurate odds and prices across all the crazy markets they offer right now because there's just so many markets to cover. They just can't be accurate everywhere. So basically what we're doing is we're looking for outliers in the market. That is probably the bread and butter of positive EV sports betting or top-down betting is literally if 10 books agree on a certain price, let's just say it's Patriots plus 110 for their money line bet. 10 books have that plus 110. And then all of a sudden you see one book sitting at plus 130. Then you know that the market is mostly efficient and they're mostly sitting on plus 110 so that the plus 130 line is off and you can pretty much blindly bet that plus 130 number and make a long-term profit. When you're top down betting, you can assume that you'll make between 1 and 3% ROI. Now, that seems like a small margin, but if you're able to scale your bankroll and reinvest all of your profits, you can grow insanely quick, even with a 1 or 2% ROI long term. The reason that the margins are kind of small is, like I said earlier, the markets are efficient. The sports betting market is efficient, but with inside this very efficient market, there are slim edges to be grabbed. And that's where top-down betting comes in. Like that example earlier where I was saying the whole market was sitting at plus 110 and there was an outlier book at plus 130. Typically, these books will not leave themselves priced as an outlier for very long because they know the market is correct. So if you're not able to place that wager within only a couple minutes of the mispriced line showing up, then most likely that book will also correct to plus 110 and that plus 130 number will be gone forever. I want to keep this video pretty simple, so I'm not going into a crazy amount of detail about these top-down strategies, but what I will say is I've identified 3 different top-down strategies. The first one that we just talked about, I would call this like the market average strategy, assuming that the majority of the books are the source of truth and then finding an outlier compared to that book. The second strategy, which I like a lot, is identifying sharp sports books and then comparing their lines to other books, which means instead of using a whole market average as your truth of source, you are using a small group of one, two, or three different books to set the fair value of the line and then compare that to the rest of the market. Using a sharp book strategy gives you the option to bet into multiple different retail books instead of the outlier strategy where you're just hitting one. Obviously, we'll get into some of the concepts here, but basically there's ways to identify sharp sports books in certain categories in certain markets and then use their prices and their odds against other books. But this is a great strategy that I use all the time, and we'll get into a lot more detail about this later in the course. The third strategy that I use top down betting, and my absolute favorite, is called steam chasing, what it's often referred to as. And this is basically identifying which way the market is moving and playing edges within the moving market. Now, markets that are moving, whether it's a financial market or the sports betting market, that's where you find discrepancies in lines and prices, and that's where you can find the most value. So I love using the line movement of either the sharp books or the market as a whole and kind of just getting in at a good point to where the market continues moving that direction and it ends up getting me a lot of closing line value, or I just get a really good price compared to what the final number is for that sporting event. And it's great because steam chasing gives you the ability to play like very small edges, like under 1% edges that I will play if I can see that the market is moving heavily in one direction. So not only can you play small edges, but those small edges that you play often turn out to be the biggest edges right before game time. Because if I see, let's just say we see a Celtics line and they're -5 earlier in the day, and now they move to -6, -7, -8, without me even knowing what's going on within that market, I can basically assume that someone on the team they're playing against probably got injured, and this line is moving towards the Celtics. So if I can get in there early and the market continues to steam in that direction, then I'm going to have a lot of closing line value. And just like I said, a great number before the game starts. I hope that all made sense to you guys. Like I said, we are going to go into so much more depth about each of these strategies, each of the concepts and terms inside of these strategies. But I just wanted to paint a bigger picture of what positive EV betting is, what top-down betting is, and what this course is going to be about. So in this next video, we're going to start getting into some of the terms that you might hear. So the next video will be all about the VIG. And if you don't know what the VIG is, then make sure you click on this video.